Hey guys, welcome back to Supposedly Fun. I am Greg, here today to talk about the Booker Prize shortlist, which was announced this morning. I am feeling a little bit smug and a little bit, well, more than a little bit, uninformed, because here's the thing. I have not read any of the books that are on the shortlist because mostly because most of them haven't been released in the US. I think some of them may have been released yesterday, or today even. But yeah, they just haven't been available over here. I did order one, but haven't read it yet, so not really informed on that, but I'm feeling smug because the three books that jumped out at me the most from the long list that made me immediately say I want to read that made it to the short list. And those, really quickly, are Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, which I ordered from the UK because at the time of the long list announcement, it did not have a release date in the US. It does now have one in December. And the other ones are Ducks Newburyport by Lucy Ellman and 10 minutes, 38 seconds in This Strange World by Elif Shafak. And by the way, before we go any further, I really want to say one thing that makes me really happy I started this booktube channel and joined the booktube community is that when I saw the long list, and I read the description of Ducks Newburyport, specifically that it is a 1,000-page book that only contains roughly 8 sentences and is basically a stream of conscious flow of words coming from a woman baking pies and thinking about the world and media and all this stuff. I thought, is it weird that I want to read that? I really want to read that. Maybe I'm odd. And then you go on BookTube and you see all of the comments and the other videos, and that book just immediately jumped out to a lot of people, and it makes me feel like I'm among my people. So thank you guys, good job. And I'm really looking forward to getting to read Ducks Newburyport and joining the conversation on that. So those were the three books that had most jumped out at me from the long list. They made it to the short list, so that's exciting. The other shortlisted books are The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This is, of course, her sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. And I don't know. I feel like I'm still not convinced that The Handmaid's Tale needs to have a sequel. Maybe I'm being really stubborn. Maybe I'm just refusing to be open to the idea that a sequel could be good. I just like I like it for what it was. But I feel like now I'm going to have to read it. So I don't know. I did put myself on the hold list at my local library for when it is released, and I figured that way I at least have the option of reading it. I can make the call. Then maybe I'll go along with it. I don't know. I'm feeling like a fusty old man about the Testaments. But there it is. So it's The Testaments, Ducks Newburyport, Girl, Woman, Other, An Orchestra of Minorities by Chigozie Obioma, Keyshot by Salman Rushdie, and 10 minutes, 38 seconds in This Strange World by Elif Shafak. Now, like I said, Girl, Woman, Other, Ducks Newburyport, and 10 minutes, 38 seconds in This Strange World were the ones that jumped out to me the most. Just to run through the plots of them really quickly, let's start with the one that I have right here, Girl, Woman, Other. This is it follows the lives and struggles of 12 very different characters, mostly women, mostly black and British. They tell the stories of their families, friends, and lovers across the country and through the years. I'm sorry, I'm reading off of the screen. I am really looking forward to this one. It just immediately jumped out to me. I love the idea of putting these voices together and telling their stories, especially stories that have not traditionally been heard. Part of me is really hoping that this book ends up going all the way, but I haven't read it yet, so I feel like I really can't say. It just immediately jumped out to me. If I could only pick one book from the long list or from the short list to read, it would probably be this one. And I think it has a good chance because the jury for the Booker Prize this year is predominantly female. There's only one male, and it is a very diverse selection of people as well. So it would feel right, to me at least, that this might be the one that they choose. I'm going to keep thinking about this, and this is not going to be my official prediction, but that's kind of where my head is at right now. I would not be surprised. It might be wishful thinking because this is the one that I want to read the most. Who knows? And like I said, this does now have a release date for December, but I ordered it from the UK, and you could feel free to do the same. As for An Orchestra of Minorities by Chigozie Obioma, it is set on the outskirts of Nigeria and is narrated by a guardian spirit. It tells the story of Chinonso, a young poultry farmer whose soul is ignited when he sees a woman attempting to jump from a highway bridge. Horrified by her recklessness, he joins her on the roadside and hurls 2 of his prize chickens into the water below to express the severity of such a fall. The woman is stopped in her tracks. They fall in love, and then I think from there it becomes a sort of African myth version of the Odyssey, which sounds really interesting. I have not heard great things about this book, but it does sound really interesting to me. I have, bear with me one moment. The Fisherman, which was previously shortlisted for the Booker Prize. I just have never gotten around to reading it, and this one sounded really interesting as well. So, for whatever that's worth. Then there is Ducks Newburyport, of course, which all of BookTube is excited about, and that makes me love you all. Now, baking a multitude of tart-tatine for local restaurants, an Ohio housewife contemplates her 4 kids, husband, cats, and chickens. Also, America's ignoble past and her own regrets. She's surrounded by dead lakes, fake facts, open carry maniacs, and oodles of online advice about survivalism, veil toss duties, and how to be more like Jane Fonda. But what do you do when you keep stepping on your son's toy tractors, your life depends on stolen land and broken treaties, and nobody helps you when you get a flat tire on the interstate? Not even the abominable snowman. This book sounds gloriously weird, and I just can't wait to read it. Every time I read about it, or watch a video about it, I don't know. Something about it just gets me excited. So we'll see if it holds up to that. 10 minutes, 38 seconds in this Strange World by Elif Shafak is interesting because it's about, a woman who has been a sex worker has been killed. And in the 10 minutes that it takes for her brain to shut down, she has visions of her life and some senses. I think like goat meat or goat stew is one of them. But basically, in her last 10 minutes and 38 seconds, having a conscious mind on this world, her neurons just keep firing and bring her memories of telling her life and her story that brought her up to that place. I am deeply uncomfortable with the concept of death, so part of me is afraid of this book. The other part is wildly fascinated and can't wait to read it. I believe it will be out in December in the United States. I may break down and order it from the UK before then, but I really need to curb my spending on books, so I don't know. We shall see. Keyshot by Salman Rushdie. So this is kind of a modernized version spin on Don Quixote. In it, Rushdie takes the reader on a wild ride through a country on the verge of moral and spiritual collapse. And with the kind of storytelling magic that is the hallmark of Rushdie's work, the fully realized lives of Duchamp and Quixote intertwine in a profoundly human quest for love and a wickedly entertaining portrait of an age in which fact is so often indiscernible from fiction. I like that a lot of these books right now talk about the difficulty of discerning fact and fiction and the problem with, the quote-unquote fake news. I think it feels very relevant for our time that a lot of these books are thinking about this. I'm just not sure about this book. I've never read Don Quixote. The story sounds... I don't know. Here's the thing. I've read one book by Salman Rushdie, Midnight's Children, absolutely loved it. But every time I hear Salman Rushdie speak, he just sounds pretentious. And I don't know what to do about that. Yes, you can separate the author from their works to a degree, but I don't know. It's probably the book on the shortlist that I am the least excited about. Then, of course, there's The Testaments. And a gun to my head, if you wanted me to pick one of them, I would pick The Testaments. But yeah, Quixote is probably the one that I'm least excited to get to on this list. May not do. We'll see. So, I don't think it's surprising that Ducks Newburyport, Girl, Woman, Other, and 10 minutes, 38 seconds in this Strange World made the list. I think a lot of people out there had mixed feelings about An Orchestra of Minorities, but I'm not quite... He was a previous finalist. Hello. So I'm not altogether surprised that made it. I will say, and nobody's really read The Testaments yet, so it's very hard to say, but I am surprised The Testaments made it, and I am surprised Quixote made it. And I guess I probably would have also swapped An Orchestra of Minorities out as well. Going to the Longlist and the books that did not make it from that, there was Nightboat to Tangier by Kevin Barry. That book sounded fascinating to me. It's kind of like a spin on Waiting for Godot. And thank you, Eric Carl Anderson, for letting me know that even though I am uninformed since I haven't read Waiting for Godot, that was an apt comparison. Yunkin Braithwaite, My Sister the Serial Killer. I am actually glad that did not make it to the shortlist, which feels weird because I did like the book. I think it's a good book. It's starting to border a little bit on overpraised, and I think shortlist would have been a little too much. Then there was John Lancaster's The Wall, which I don't know a whole lot about. It's kind of a parable of current political climate. Not altogether surprised that one didn't make it. I am kind of surprised Deborah Levy's The Man Who Saw Everything did not make it, because she is a two-time finalist, and I guess the third time was not the charm for Deborah Levy. Then I'm very surprised Valeria Luiselli's Lost Children Archive did not make it to the shortlist. That book, I know there are a lot of love it or hate it books. By the way, I just learned the term Marmite book. I can't remember whose video I was watching when I heard it for the first time. I love it. I need to start using it. Lost Children Archive is something that it would fall into that category. So I guess it's not altogether surprising that it didn't make it, but it felt like a very relevant book. The book that I am most surprised did not make the shortlist is Lanny by Max Porter, because pretty much anybody I know who has read that book or have seen review it on here has loved it and talked about how great it is and how clever it is. I have not really seen many mediocre reviews of that book. So, and it's something that I myself would like to read. I have talked on here before about how I didn't read his previous book because I really struggle with poetry. And my thing with poetry is totally on me, by the way. It's that I don't feel smart enough to understand it. I need to push past that. But Lanny does not really deal with poetry a whole lot, so it's supposed to be just an interesting story. So I should get over myself. I am also surprised that Frankenstein by Jeanette Winterson did not make it. It's kind of a modern version of Frankenstein, as you can probably guess from the title. So I really would have thought Nightboat to Tangier, Frankenstein, and Lanny would have made it instead of An Orchestra of Minorities, The Testaments, and Quichotte. But, here we are, and I haven't read these books, so I can't quite disagree with the jury right now. I'm very excited to read them. I would love to hear your opinion about what you think of this shortlist, if you think anything from the long list should have been swapped out for one of these 6 books. If you've gotten around to reading any of these books, let me know what you thought, especially if you're one of the people who got to Duck's Newburyport. It seems like everybody on BookTube was really excited about that. And let me know what you think might win. I would love to hear that as well. And let's see how this shortlist goes and which one eventually emerges as the winner. I'm looking forward to getting through some of these books myself. And until then, thank you for watching this video, and happy reading.